stands with you.
What is popping, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the third episode of Poppinsburgh County. I am finally off my brief hiatus and back to YouTube. For those who are just interested in the cinematics, there'll be a time frame in the corner of the screen to skip to now. For those interested on my thoughts on the current situation, please do stick around. I always imagined that Poppinsburgh County was going to have a castle, but I didn't see myself making it so early in the series. It does very much make sense, however, that there would be a castle in this sort of geographical area, because it's right at the mouth of a river. You know, it'd be a perfect place to defend from. Like, because the original idea was I was going to put a castle way out way out into the countryside, way out into the green circle. But when my mate suggested that I build a castle, and if I was going to build it so early in the series, just following the CBD episode, it does make sense that that this town would have grown around the protection of this castle. The castle assets I've been sitting on, I can't remember off the top of my head who made them, but they're quite epic, they're quite large, and they wouldn't just be defending some village or some town. They wouldn't be placed out into the middle of fucking nowhere. They would be placed to defend a very strategic point. The actual assets, the group of assets, are called Roman walls, but they don't look very Roman to it. They look very Renaissance-y to me. I mean, there could be the case that during Roman Britain this exact location was defended and there was some sort of castle structure there, but the fortifications had been replaced over time. Point is, I wanted to create the defended by different groups of people over different generations over hundreds of years. Later on, I end up placing a graveyard asset right next to this castle thing, and it does make the top part of this look a bit like a burnt down monastery. So maybe this secluded top part of it, which was a castle beforehand, was reappropriated as a monastery for monks, but then burnt down by King Henry VIII or something like that. There's a lot of inspirations for this castle. I've been to quite a few castles, so it's hard to pin down, you know, mentally where on earth the images that I'm trying to invoke come from. The three main inspirations that come to mind that you can sort of see in this castle are Bamberg Castle, which is the castle overlooking Lindisfarne. Lindisfarne being an island and a monastery, well, with an island with an ancient monastery. That you can only access when the tide is out. It's not Lindisfarne that I'm trying to invoke here, it's the actual castle itself, because I think whoever's curating it, well, obviously it's not going to be open now, but whoever's curating it is doing a bloody good job, because it's got so many interesting things inside, and they've really tried to put on a show. One thing I found that was really cool, though, when we were there was an archaeological dig happening, and then the big signs up explaining, you know, what they were looking for and what they'd found, and there's a big table showing all these little things that they found. And you know, who knows, they could have found that earlier that day. The second biggest inspiration is, you know, these walls. They're so tall. They do remind me a lot of my holiday in the fortress city of Valletta. The city of Valletta is actually on a peninsula very similar to the one that Poppinsburgh County is on. So it makes a lot of sense that it would have these tall fortified walls. The third thing that comes to mind when I was building this is a place called Berry Head. Berry Head is a Napoleonic era fort that you have to. It's a real trek to get up there. It's through some woods and some very high terrain. And as you see later in this episode, you can see where the inspiration comes in. The pedestrian ramp that I'm building now, the weird windy upward staircase thing that I'm building now, is one of two that I build in the castle. It makes more sense to me, especially because of the massive terrain differences, that they would try and make this place more accessible, not just for disabled people, but just for the general public, because these massive differences in terrain would make the whole castle very, very unmanageable. Given how I'm purporting that this place is, that perhaps there were these ancient stone staircases that were all smoothed out by people's feet and very dangerous, that were closed off, or maybe perhaps they just were destroyed and were reclaimed by the environment around them. Changing the subject briefly, it's still very early days with my YouTube channel, but I'm not gonna lie, I've put quite a lot into this YouTube channel already, and it feels like the algorithm hasn't taken kindly to me. I've got 6 subscribers, of which I know 5 of them. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, please for the love of God, please, well, no, not that, please subscribe. One reason I think it might not be taken kindly to me is because I have mentioned the current event that we're all experiencing, that YouTube apparently penalises you in the algorithm for mentioning it at all. The logic behind it is sound. The logic behind it is that there shouldn't be some trending topic that a few people make a lot of money off. Yeah, and I understand that. I completely, fundamentally understand that. However, that when taken to its logical conclusion, and it is given a big blanket ban on the word, not a ban but a penalisation, same effect, different wording, you end up penalising a lot of small creators and medium creators, you know, anywhere in between, just for talking about what they're going through. The predominant reason people are saying the word and bringing it up, the predominant reason why everyone is talking about it, is because they're going through it. It's affecting them in one way or another, and they want to talk about how it's affecting them. There shouldn't be a blanket automatic bot ban on the mere reference to the subject. You know, you might say, oh, Jeff mate, there are much bigger concerns at the moment. There are much bigger concerns facing the world during the current event. And I would agree. However, it doesn't stop me from saying what YouTube's done is wrong. Because whilst I agree it's not the typical trending topic that YouTube likes to peddle, but it is really important that we talk about this. A lot of the creators that I watch have started using pseudonyms and placeholders, because of course you can't stop people talking about this. It's happening to so many people, and whilst it might not have been their express goal, what they have achieved is a muddying of the waters. This isn't some ramble about freedom of speech and being able to say whatever word I want. Some words have grown to bear so much weight that they are offensive, and I do understand fundamentally why we should discourage people from using those words. Racial slurs, for example, unless you're talking about someone else using them, in which case you should be able to come up with a pseudonym, then you really shouldn't be saying them. You know, the current event is not the only thing that they have put a blanket restriction on with negative consequence. Another one that springs to mind is the actual term for nonce. No, obviously not nonce, the actual term. I think the excuse for banning that word was that they didn't want these kind of things being discussed on their platform. But it's ridiculous, because the only time it isn't being discussed by nonces, is it? It's being discussed by people trying to take down nonce. In fact, the way I found out that the word was banned in the first place is because I was watching some random video about the Onision allegations, and they stepped on eggshells around the word. You know, at that point you've got to ask yourself whether blanket bans are helpful. Someone really needs to re-evaluate YouTube's YouTube's guidelines and stuff. Someone really just needs to take a hard look at it and, you know, examine the effects of it and go back and try to amend it, because it doesn't look like what they've done is actually helpful. The words that we are allowed to say on this platform define this platform. And if YouTube's moderators, well, YouTube's moderator bots continue to be restrictive and muddy the waters, the symbol that best befits YouTube's current state will be this for the ongoing future. Phew! Felt good to get that off my chest. I've been sitting on that thought for way too long, and it's just been lulling in my brain. That being said, I'm not gonna sit here and blame that entirely for the lack of success on my YouTube channel. I only have 3 videos up, one of which is part of another video. So it seems kind of ballsy for me to say this is the algorithm's fault when I've not put that much work into it. I still, the point still stands. Obviously, it's not about me completely. Although it might have been the thought that started the ball rolling. Point still stands. You know, it's about the general state of YouTube. Moving forward in this channel, I think I'm gonna try and diversify. I'm gonna try some new stuff out, not just City Skylines content. Wow. One thing I was thinking about is, because I have random facts from random countries that I've been to. I think I might make a series where I try and make stupid, like, listicle things about countries that I've been to and interesting things about them that I've found out that people may not know. Or maybe I can aim a bit higher than dumb listicles. Maybe I could try and make some video essays, spin my hot takes into cogent arguments, you know? Point is, I've always just I wanted to make a YouTube channel so I could have fun with it, and I never ever want this to feel just like a chore, that's something that I have to do. I want to take this in whatever direction I feel like it for the sake of it. And since I have nothing to lose at this point, I might as well. So expect some non-City Skylines content coming very soon. Obviously though, I do want to continue Poppinsburgh County. I just want to diversify. Put my fingers in multiple pies. That is an awful saying. What does it mean? Get your finger out of the pie. You know, get your gangly fingers out of my steak and kidney pie. It's beyond one pie because the saying implies that you've got your finger in multiple pies. You've got multiple pies and multiple... That's a logistical situation. What horrible, awful, terrible human being came up with such an expression? Okay, getting back to the video, you can see the cannon things that I placed over there. That's where the inspiration from Bury Head comes in, as well as the fact that it's so far up. Like, you'd have to go up that wooden spirally staircase thing. The reason why I did that is similar to the reason why I did the other one. You know, it's just, I imagine that there was a path here, but maybe it was really dangerous and they didn't want the general public using it. And here is what purports to be an ancient monastery. When picking facts and stuff for Poppinsburgh County, I want to always use facts that don't really alleviate the whole, you know, where could it be situation. It having a monastery that's burnt down doesn't narrow it down at all. King Henry VIII burnt thousands of monasteries down. Sorry, probably more like hundreds. He burnt... But the point is the scale of it at the time. Burning down all the monasteries in the country. Fundamentally impressive, if not cruel and horrible. You know, the extent to which that nasty man changed the face of England forever, perfectly embodying a monarchical tyrant. You have to be a little impressed. The man had like 72,000 people beheaded. You know, he's only one man to have that many people killed at that time by personal request. It's a big deal. Yeah, there's one thing you probably didn't notice earlier. It's right next to this train track thing. So it's gonna give some really cool shots later in the series when the whole peninsula jetting out is all developed and detailed. When it goes through and it passes a CBD, and then it just on the CBD on the right, and it just goes a bit further on, and just to the left is this big castle complex. Mega cool. It's gonna be really cool to see. I've got some more plans set up for the rest of the island. Like the next thing that I'm gonna build is an old town that's jetting off of this that extends off. Oh yeah, I haven't. You can't see it yet, and I'm not going to show the building of it because it took almost as long as building the castle. It's the surroundings, you know, as you enter the castle, because it's very important that entire area looks very nice and detailed. But I didn't think I would include a lot of it in the time lapse itself because, you know, or else this video would be 40 minutes long, and who wants that? You know, it's just spitballing my ideas for the old town. You know, I imagine that some of the complexes themselves, some of the squares and things of the old town will be bisected by the railway, because whilst the castle is far too important and far too old to be bisected by this, I imagine that there probably is going to be at least one old neighbourhood that is going to be, you know, is going to have a railway that you can obviously see from bird's eye view has been ploughed through by the makers of the railway. After that, unless I have any ideas for any other important mega projects to do on this island, I will do extra detailing and stuff off screen, and then I'll set up a tram line and a bus line and stuff, and I'll have some POV views from that to upload. I'm going to treat the YouTube thing as I'm going to make like the milestones and the important, like the milestones and the benchmarks and stuff, that's going to be on what I'm going to upload. It's going to be the big scale projects, the old town, the CBD, the castle, and like I'll do an entire village per episode, and it shouldn't take long because they're going to be quite small, if not very detailed. But the in-between bits and stuff I can manage. I will do off screen because it's just not that interesting to watch. Because that's a problem that I see with a lot of other City Skylines content. You see like episode 55, and you just think this project is going on forever, and why are you showing me you building another suburb that looked like the last suburb? I like to think if I ever got to episode 55 that each episode was interesting to watch and was a genuine milestone. Of course, let's see if my computer makes it to episode 55, because some of the best computers can really struggle with City Skylines late game. And I say late game, I mean like when population starts to boom and you have hundreds of thousands of people moving around all the time during a simulation. In my experience already, saving and loading is very time consuming, even at this early stage. I dread to think what it's going to be like a lot later, because it's not the actual running of the thing. The actual running of the thing is fine. The frame rate is low when you first load up, but then it goes up. But that's just at the moment. Maybe later, as the population expands, that kind of stuff is going to be a lot more detrimental. But we will see about that later on. For now, enjoy some juicy cinematics, and for those who skipped ahead, welcome back.
On the Buses, one of ITV's top comedy shows.